Hi, it's Marshall with the Restaurant Association of Maryland. I'm the president and CEO, and today we are talking with Peter Haukebo from Frost Law, and we're going to discuss ERC, the term that's been thrown around and with restaurants and other small businesses. And I know that we all have lots of questions, and hopefully Peter's going to kind of wade through all of this for us and let us know what we need to do as a small business, and particularly restaurants here in the state of Maryland. So Peter, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, give us your credentials, and what is this ERC that we're all talking about?
Absolutely. Thanks, Marshall. And it's great to be with the Restaurant Association of Maryland. My name is Peter Haukebo. I am an attorney with Frost Law. And for the better part of a year or longer, I have been living in this ERC world and sort of wading through, what it is and what it isn't, because it's not everything to everybody that some folks out there would have you believe. There's a lot of misinformation out there, but basically the employee retention credit is another one of these COVID era programs. It was initially rolled out with the CARES Act, but at the beginning they said you got to pick a lane. You can either go after PPP or you go after ERC, and it really wasn't a fair fight. PPP was worth $15,000 and change at the beginning. ERC was initially worth only $5,000 per employee. And so PPP took all the air out of the room, and that's what people focused on. And only later, through 3 subsequent pieces of legislation, has everything sort of been turned on its head. Now you've got folks, especially like restaurants, who I think are good candidates for this credit.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I hear all the time is that, well, I already got PPP, so therefore I'm not eligible, or I can't be, I'm not able to apply for the ERC. Is that true, or is that not true?
That was true at first, and God bless the tax preparers and the other tax professionals. What happened was basically December 27th of 2020, they turned it on its head, and they said, okay, well, you can get PPP and ERC at the same time. You can't, double dip, and you can't claim both. But that was right before, tax professionals were going into tax prep season. And then new administration comes in, and now it's March 2021, and they do it again to them. And they say, we're going to change the rules again. And then, just to make sure everybody was still paying attention, they changed it again in November of 2021. Just, pull it back a little bit.
So things have changed numerous times since the beginning of all of this. So when a business hears from their accountant or some other professional that, well, you're not eligible, or you've been told somewhere along the way you won't qualify, or I've already run the numbers for you, you're saying that's not necessarily true. And what should a business do?
It's not necessarily true. Even if someone scoped this at first to try to do the analysis, there's been different changes with the Relief Act, with, different things along the way. So it's definitely worth slowing down and taking another look at it. Absolutely.
So what happens if you own multiple businesses, and maybe you've got different types of businesses? Maybe you have a restaurant, a car wash, just a lot of different things going on. Are you still eligible to look into this?
Yeah, this is really where the rubber meets the road. ERC is different than PPP. PPP was a situation where you are, it's built on the 7A program. It was administered by the banks through SBA. You were going and you were asking for permission, and you were submitting documents, and someone was blessing the positions that you were taking. With ERC, it's built on existing tax code, and you're really just taking a position on a tax return. So you want to be careful with this stuff. It's also built on existing tax code as far as aggregation rules, family attribution issues, controlled groups of corporations. And the analysis is different when you are doing a gross receipts analysis, right? So one way to qualify is a significant reduction in gross receipts. In that situation, yeah, it's relevant if you own a car wash and a restaurant, because you've got to consider the gross receipts from both of those. If you are doing the analysis based on a restriction on trade or business operations, that's a trade or business analysis, so it can be a little bit more targeted. Understanding the nuance there is really what makes this a challenging adventure.
Yeah, certainly so. So how about those people that opened a business after COVID began? Are they eligible?
Yep. Yeah, I mean, so what happened in the American Rescue Plan was they rolled out a third category. So you've got the significant reduction in gross receipts, you've got the trade or business restrictions. You can also be what's called a recovery startup business. And so by definition, those were businesses, trade or business, so that began operations after February 15th, 2020, and on average had less than $1 million in gross receipts. And that's a nuanced analysis as well. But basically, if you're a recovery startup business, you can qualify for quarters 3 and quarter 4 of 2021. It's capped at $50,000 each, so it could still be, up to a $100,000 credit. It is the only way to qualify in Q4 2021.
So for us lay people that don't live with this every single day and we're busy washing dishes or just checking emails or whatever the case might be, it sounds clearly like this has become very complicated. And it's something that I, as a business owner, I'm not going to pursue this on my own. I wouldn't even know where to begin, and I would probably become frustrated. But then as a restaurant, there's this idea of I don't have $50,000 to pay a tax attorney to find out if this is even going to work out for me. So why don't you go ahead and explain what Frost Law is doing for the Restaurant Association and our members to kind of help members kind of figure out if this is worthwhile for them and how you would go about charging.
Right, absolutely. So what we have done, is agree to take a look at all of this stuff up front to understand, what is the actual work to be done? How complicated is this credit? The government has an opportunity to come back and to audit these things. For most claims, it's going to be a 3-year statute. For some, it's going to be a 5-year. So you really want to make sure that you're working with someone who understands the nuances of this, and you go and you pull the governmental orders to understand what the language says about restrictions, that you come up and work with someone who is developing a PPP work paper to say, this is what I'm considering a PPP wage, this is what I'm considering an ERC wage, making sure that you're maximizing this stuff. But the way that we do it is we take a look at all of these things on the front end, get an idea of the work to be done and what it's going to take to file these returns, and then have a conversation with you about what that looks like financially, time-wise, all those types of things.
So no money up front, you do the work in advance, you come back to the restaurant owner and say, okay, here's your opportunity, and here's what the fee that we would take for you to recoup that money. And certainly I'm making the assumption you would work with any existing professionals that a restaurant uses.
Yeah, and so if you work with a PEO or a CPEO, we'll work with those folks. Absolutely. But we take a look at it up front. We want to understand what we're getting ourselves into. We get people that call us up and they say, what's your percentage, right? Because some of these, sort of pop-up firms have, I've heard as much as 30%, but some of these are just something else. I don't know. I don't know anything about your case. I don't know, exactly what's going on. We're going to have to interview you to understand, here's the restrictions that we found. Was this your reality? Did you abide by them? Right. Those types of things.
So, all right. So up on the screen there, we have, Peter, we've got your email. So anybody that is interested in learning more, looking to, pursue this a little bit further, they can go ahead and shoot you an email and you'll take care of them from there. And I'd like to throw this in there too. A lot of time our smaller restaurant members, and by smaller, I mean, maybe they only have 15 or fewer employees. They always feel like they are, not eligible for these things, or it's not worthwhile, or they don't have the resources. I would encourage you to take a look into this. You never know what kind of found money you might have. And we understand that you're busy running your restaurant, and let Peter and his team kind of look at what is available for you, right?
Yeah, happy to speak to anybody, and 15 employees is great. I mean, that's a solid small business, and really in line with, I think, the purpose of this credit. Like, there are limitations on the higher end, right? 100 or 500 full-time employees, but otherwise, this is the type of business that the government is looking to support through this program.
Okay, and I think that's going to wrap it up for us today. Again, reach out to Peter at the email up on the screen. And as everybody knows, we're here at the Restaurant Association of Maryland. You can go to our website for different things. And Peter, before I let you go, because we are here in Maryland and there are many people here in the state that want to see nothing more than the New York Yankees lose this evening. Any predictions on the game that starts at 4 o'clock?
No, I'm with you. I think that I'd love to see the Yankees lose. That's fantastic.
Well, there you go. You've just endeared yourself to 90% of all the people in the state of Maryland.
Absolutely.
So, we'll see how the Orioles do next year. All right. Thank you very much. And we appreciate your time. Again, any questions, reach out to us at the Restaurant Association or email Peter. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Marshall.